Alright everyone, beautiful day in Withering Wave, isn't it? Because today we're going to be looking into some of the banners that are going to be coming in our first anniversary. Yeah, it's not just some, it's freaking a lot. So this is going to be rather a long video today because technically speaking, I am going to be touching on the information of the character that are going to be having their rerun to help you guys making the best decision to be pulling for the anniversary patch. Astrites, admit it, I know you all love this shiny gems. Your favorite Withering Waves character requires this, but well, you're out of Astrites. What do you do now? Well, of course, we tend to swipe our cards, however, that can be quite expensive, doesn't it? But thanks to Loot Bar, our sponsor for today's video, we have an even better way for you guys to top up for Withering Waves. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 23% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point in time, you can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. And by the way, this also applies to PS5 and Xbox user who can place orders through Loot Bar. To demonstrate to you, I've been topping up my Wuwa account through Loot Bar, buying the highest Wuwa package. You go through the checkout process, then they will ask you to fill your account information. After completing, you will have a direct message notifying that they are hopping in to top up for you. Then voila, you're done. Here you can see my order receipt. I've topped up Genshin Impact with Loot Bar many times before, so I can be sure that they are safe. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save money, especially if you are topping up a large amount in Withering Waves. Now, regardless of whichever character you want to pull, there's a character that's absolutely very important that is still on the banner right now. You guys basically have a week to actually get her, and that is definitely going to be Shorekeeper. I can't stress how important Shorekeeper as a character at the current point in the game, and she's going to be relevant for an absolutely long time. Alright, so that being said, let's touch on the new character, which is our lovely Zani. My god, is she hot. Alright, so we know some information regarding Zani at this point after the live stream, but overall, from the look of it, again, she's going to be a DPS character. Well, technically, Kuro has actively already mentioned that point of Zani being a DPS character for you, which makes it overall, again, she's more or less going to be a preference character depending on how many characters you've already got across the board on your account. Obviously, there's no official information regarding how strong she's going to be at the current point. However, regarding, you know, the lore point of the story and also how hype Zani is as a character, obviously Withering Wave will not do her bad and make her to have bad damage. Overall, it's going to be a gauntlet character that focuses mostly in a Spectral Frazzle team. Now, technically she can be used in other team you want to, but when used on a team that specializes in a Spectral Frazzle a lot, she's going to be able to get benefit off of it, and also your other character on the team will be able to get some benefit off of that as well, which makes it more into the thinking patterns of how much of an investment are there whenever you're looking into pooling for Zani, right? Obviously, we're going to be having free-to-play teams. You know, Spectral Rover does have access to doing Spectral Frazzle damage, but moreover, Phoebe is definitely going to be a character that expected to be used on a Zani team. Well, you can already kind of see Phoebe being showcased in a Zani team within the live stream, but moreover, Phoebe is a character that applies a decent number of Spectral Frazzle. So I think Zani is being made at the current point to be able to make more use of Phoebe's ability to apply Spectral Frazzle, and moreover, you know, in terms of our new Eternal Radiant set of using a lot regarding Spectral Frazzle, you're going to be going down the Spectral Frazzle route if you are looking into an optimal build in terms of Zani team building. However, again, she is a new DPS character, so more or less a preference side whenever you are considering whether or not you like her playstyle and the investment overall of her team. Up next, we have our lovely songstress Ciaconna coming into the second phase of patch 2.3, so technically you do have a bit of time until she arrives, but from the look of her character, she's going to be a character that can support arrow character, right? Because she has ability to increase their arrow damage, which at this point in time, overall Jiyan is going to be the character that looks into making the most use of it. Other than that, she has access to arrow erosion mechanic, therefore arrow rover can technically be on her team team as well. So overall, you can potentially make a team regarding a mono arrow team comps where you have Jiyan to make use of the arrow damage buffing that Ciaconna have access to, and also the arrow erosion mechanic, the arrow rover can make use of it. From what we can see, she's going to be singing as well, which is absolutely great. She's going to be in a singing state whenever you cast her liberation, and technically going to be stuck in that singing state for a bit of time. You can switch out your characters to a different one to deal damage while she's singing on the field. This process does apply stack of arrow erosion as well as spectral frazzle, which is interesting, and moreover she's going to potentially deal off-field damage as well. Now hopefully she does deal nice off-field damage number, because we don't really have any coordinating attack arrow character just yet, so I'd love to see that. Therefore, considering Ciaconna can also apply nice number of spectral frazzle, you can consider her to be on a Zani team if you don't have Phoebe, right? So if you don't really like Phoebe playstyle, for example, you're planning to get Ciaconna for both of your arrow team and potentially be used on a Zani team as well, I think that's going to be one of her upside when you are considering a Ciaconna. But yes, from the look of it, she's more going to be on a sub DPS supporting side, so potentially she's not going to be able to deal too much of a damage. And moreover, at this point in time, arrow erosion teams aren't too specialized just yet, but the fact that we already have her more or less helping out arrow erosion team, we can kind of expect that there will be potential better DPS character that make use of arrow erosion in the future. So if you're looking toward those kind of futures and you want to invest into Ciaconna, I think that can be a potential route for you to look into. So those are going to be some of the information that we know about the new character that are coming into patch 2.3 at the current point. And now let's touch on some of the returning characters that are going to be in the first anniversary event. Now at first I planned on putting these characters into kind of like a tier list in terms of pooling priority, but then I noticed that some of the characters, you know, like Zhezhi or Yinlin, those kind of characters, for example, their pooling value would definitely differ depending on which DPS you are trying to pool, which is why I'm going to be speaking into them independently and give my viewpoint that way. First off, we have a 1.0 character, and that's Jiyan. Yes, he technically has been released for almost a year at this point. One of the few Broadblade characters that we have in the game. Hopefully, please Kuro, send us more Broadblade character down the line, because we only have 5 characters at this point. But Jiyan is a character, still a very good DPS character. He is really good in both single target and especially in group situation as well. Whenever you use his liberation, he goes into his enhanced state and deal very nice AoE damaging. Plus his mechanic is very easy in terms of countering your enemies, because you just spam and he is technically able to counter your enemies, and overall that is really nice. Now even though he's been released for quite a while, I think his DPS damage power is still really good. Withering Wave is a game that I feel that it technically hasn't been much of a power creep, right? Many of the character DPS level aren't too big of a difference. So the game is more or less still going to be pretty much a skill issues, and DPS character wise are generally your preference. So Jiyan is a very easy character to play, right? You don't have to think much whenever you're using him. Cast his liberation and you just spam, and that is pretty much it for Jiyan. His teams is pretty simple as well. You know, Morphe and mostly Shorekeeper if you have her, and as we've mentioned before, Ciaconna is going to be a character that can be used on Jiyan team. So if you're planning to go down that route to invest more into Jiyan team, then yeah, technically, right, both Jiyan and Ciaconna, you can invest into that route, and they are going to be doing decently. If you just want to look into more Jiyan sequence, I think it's okay, right? S1 give him more skill to use. So overall, not too much of a damage increase, well, but it does allow him to, you know, sometimes do a bit of a funny things in the overworld when you're air traveling to air dash a little bit more. And then S2 for Jiyan is rather, I would say, kind of nice, because it does give him 28% attack increase as well as more resolve gain. Obviously, S2 investment is going to be quite a lot regardless of whichever account that you've got, but considering the fact that you can buy sequence node, that is still kind of fine if you really would love to invest more into Jiyan. Other than that, regarding Yiyan's weapon, he's, pretty much free to play friendly. If you get the 5-star broad blade in the standard banner, you can still use that pretty decently for him. Obviously, always signature weapons across all the 5-star characters are going to be great. However, if you're already investing into Jinhsi, for example, you got a weapon, they can use each other's weapon because Jinhsi's broad blade is still pretty decently a Jiyan. So overall, broad blade options are still kind of nice for Jiyan across the board. But if you want the most out of him, then yes, obviously it is going to be his signature. Now, for Yinlin, she's kind of like in a unique situation in that she hasn't been used for quite a bit of time. Not because she is inherently bad, it's just because Yinlin's case is rather unique in terms of what she does, right? Because what she does mostly is focusing on improving electro character, and more importantly, it is going to be a liberation damage amplified as well. Now if we look into it, there hasn't been too many characters that actually scale off of liberation damage that much, and technically speaking, that is only pretty much Xiangli Yao at the current point. If you're pulling for Yinlin, it's going to be toward investing more into your Xiangli Yao. Other than that, I don't see too much of a reason for you to invest into Yinlin otherwise, unless you really would love her as a character. Rather than just save for your other characters pooling and only pool for Yinlin if you're looking for an Xiangli Yao investment. But for those of you who want to invest into her, String Master, her weapon, is generally a more universal weapon that can be used across many rectifier characters. They use it pretty decently. One thing, because of a very insanely high crit rate that is been given, and the passive that it has is very easily used across many rectifier character up until this point. So that's one thing good about Yinlin. You really want to invest into a weapon. Overall, that's still going to be fine. And again, on the topic of Yinlin that we've had, Xiangli Yao is right next to her. Xiangli Yao overall is still a very good character. Technically speaking, if you've been playing Wuthering Waves for a while, you should already have him, right? He's still a pretty decent character in terms of everything that he does. Great damage, very good AoE attacks, and very cool looking attacking animation as well. He has very good free-to-play gauntlet options. If you're investing into the Battle Pass, you can use that for him. Other than that, the ability search can be used onto Xiangli Yao, so overall, you don't technically need his weapon for him to do good, as you already have very nice free-to-play option. Now, if you're looking into Xiangli Yao, you potentially are looking into some of his sequence. His S1, well, technically allows him to deal more damage, right? So basically, whenever he casts his kind of like an enhanced version of his resonance skill after you get max forte, he launches 6 additional convolution matrix toward your enemies, each dealing 8% of the liberation damage. For his S2, it's pretty decent because overall you're having a 30% increase toward his crit damage. If you're looking into investing into Xiangli Yao sequence, you can aim for his S2, but overall, you kind of want to have Yinlin whenever you want to invest into your Xiangli Yao, so they kind of go hand in hand together. Up next, we have a very cute looking character. She's adorable and she's a very important character on many of the team as well, especially if you've been using Carlotta. She's quite literally the best sub DPS support character for Carlotta up until this point. Not to mention she has access to very good coordinating attack, therefore she can be also on a Jinhsi team. Not that she is the most important character on a Jinhsi team, because there are many other free-to-play options for Jinhsi, or if you've already got Cantarella, for example, Jinhsi can make use of Cantarella as well. But from what we see, Zhezhi can be on pretty much many of the different teams that, you know, either scale with skill damage or also glacial, which is why Carlotta has been using Zhezhi absolutely perfectly up until this point. Moreover, she can do pretty nice coordinating attack or sub DPS damage for you, which is really handy, and I'm pretty sure Zhezhi value is still going to be very high even till later part of the game as well, because again, sub DPS damaging character always is good onto your team regardless of how you're looking at it. So Zhezhi for me is definitely a higher pooling priority character on the rerun banner of patch 2.3. For Zhezhi's weapon, obviously her signature is going to be the best. It helps her a lot. However, as I've mentioned before, the String Master is also pretty good on Zhezhi in terms of everything that it does. Can make use of it really decently. So signature isn't too far ahead of the String Master actually if you have it. So it's a very nice weapon again if you're looking into invest into the overall. Now in terms of her sequence wise, yeah, I got her S1 out of luck because I got double Zhezhi back then, but I also really highly value her S1 as well because you get more crit rate for her. Obviously not a lot, but a 10% crit rate increase is still pretty decently whenever you're looking into building your Zhezhi, so you can invest a lot more into her crit damage wise, which makes her coordinating attack off field do very nicely. Her S2, right, more damage for her. A 6 more Inkling Spirit basically means a 6 more coordinating attack overall for her liberation. A pretty decent sequence if you're looking into it. But yeah, I think generally you can stop at S1 if you are looking into invest more into Zhezhi and look toward more other different characters for you to focus on whenever you're thinking about using your Astrite. Because other than that, in the first phase, we also have Phoebe that is also returning. Phoebe is a great character, right? she does absolutely amazing damage with everything being a magical girl. If you love it, yeah, Phoebe is an absolutely perfect character for that. Spectral damage wise, she's absolutely great. I think she's right there side by side with Jinhsi. Honestly, her AoE is absolutely amazing as well. But where Jinhsi is pretty much a nuke character that can do AoE damage, but Jinhsi is pretty much locked into her nuke dragon attack, while Phoebe can do continuous magic attack, I would say, or you know, spectral damage across the board, especially in AoE situation, and she can do it very far as well because she is a rectifier character. So honestly, Phoebe is a very comfy character, right? She also has mechanic to help you fly around the overworld very far as well. She can do that up to 6 times, which is really good. But again, she is a DPS character, so it's more or less going to be your preference-wise character. And obviously, as I've mentioned before, Phoebe can be used in more or less a premium Zani team. Those are going to be a really nice team considering how much damage Phoebe is able to do already, and all the spectral frazzle stack that she's able to give towards Zani. That is going to be expecting to be a really nice team that we can make use of. Now for weapon wise, right, Phoebe can use a lot of the weapons that we already have access to, right? String Master, even Zhezhi's weapon, she can still make use of it because of the high crit damage that it gives. Now if you're looking into her sequence, her S1 is an okay increase. It doesn't actually give you that much of a damage increase because the majority of the time you gain more damage from your liberation when you're in absolution state, and then confession state you gain more multiplier for your spectral frazzle, which are these damage only are occasional and not constant damage for Phoebe. However, if you're looking into an S2 Phoebe, that is where you get a pretty high major damage increase. So if you're looking into Phoebe damaging increase wise, I suggest you to try and go toward her S2. Moving on to the second phase, we have Jinhsi coming back once again, going to be her second rerun. So I think that any of you who would love to have Jinhsi, you technically should already be able to have her. But while if you're new, you don't have Jinhsi, she's still the perfect DPS character overall for you guys to have. Very easy to play, absolutely beautiful animation that you can have, plus she has a very beautiful outfit that you can make use of at the current point. One of the main reasons why Jinhsi is such a good character and more free to play friendly is because her team building is rather easy for you to build. Jinhsi only needs a team such as Yuanwu and Taoqi, and she is very much good to go. This team will still be able to clear you content absolutely well because Yuanwu is a character that helps her max her stack insanely fast, and Taoqi still has one of the highest skill damage increase in the whole entire game. So yes, Jinhsi can also be able to make use of that also. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as you having kind of like, for example, a Zhezhi and a Shorekeeper team, because this is still Jinhsi's premium team. But that being said, her damage wise is still absolutely amazing in the game. I still use her all the time. For a weapon, would recommend you to use at the very least the 5-star standard broadblade, as the 4-star options generally is kind of bad for her. Now for Jinhsi sequence, most of it is going to be looking into increasing her damage. Her S1 is a rather nice damaging increase for her. S2, do keep in mind that the wording can be a bit confusing because this is more of a quality of life increase for you to farm in the overworld. You have to be out of battle for more than 4 seconds in order for her to get the S2 activated again, not when she is off field and other character is on field for her in a single battle. So battles such as TOA technically wouldn't really help you too much, so do keep that in mind. Other than that, our lovely Changli is also going to be back. If I remember correctly, Changli was just here last patch, so generally speaking, it's not too much of an importance for you to be pulling at the current point, because if you already want Changli, you probably already have her. But well, if you're new, this is probably the perfect chance to get her because she's a very nice looking animation sword user. However, in terms of meta wise, she is kind of a bit hard to play around with because Changli is a character that focuses a lot in terms of quick switching gameplay mechanic for her to maximize her DPS potential. And up until this point, I still haven't been able to actually master Changli quick switching. I just, randomly quick switch her. Obviously, there are very specific rotation if you want to get the most out of it. So still up until this point, I feel that Changli is technically the hardest character to master. She's got so many different team comps that you can use alongside with. Her weapon wise, technically you don't really need her signature. She's one of the few characters that the difference between a signature and the 5-star standard options is rather minimal. So you can use the standard option and it's still going to be very nice for her. So yeah, we can see that she's very much free to play friendly when it comes to weapon investing. If you want to look into her sequence, her S1, it gives her more damage and resistant interruption, which overall is kind of nice. And her S2 gives her more crit rate, which definitely is good. But with the resistance to interruption, it can be annoying at times because the most important part of her kit is whenever you are casting her max forte, and if you get interrupted, she's going to be losing out a ton of damage. However, there has been a new character being added to the game, and that is Brant, who is a really perfect character that is technically made for Changli. Well, obviously you don't have to use Brant on Changli team because there are so many different combinations, but the fact that he has access to fusion damage and skill damage increase is a perfect character to be buffing Changli at the current point. Also, he has the ability to heal as well as providing your team a shield, which is rather great, and his shielding actually helps a bit of resistance to interruption for Changli, which allows you not needing to have an S1 for Changli. Now while we're in Brant, let's talk about him. Generally speaking, he's the most beneficial character to be on a Changli team at this point. Honestly, there aren't too many characters that can make use of him apart from Changli. If you want to, you can have Xia and Encore, but it's not as great as him being on the Changli team. Other than that, you can just have him as pretty much a DPS character by himself, because he himself actually do pretty decent damage if you're going down that route. So with that in mind, Brant is pretty much a character that is suggested for you to pull whenever you are using him on a Changli team. Now, there are another reason for you to consider him a lot whenever you want to invest into him is that he's a character that technically requires his weapon. He is someone that scales off of energy regen. His signature gives him a 77%. Now, you want to try to aim for Brant energy regen to have at least 250%, which is actually a lot. Obviously, the more energy regen he has access to, the more damage he is going to be able to do. So whenever you are building him, energy regen investment is definitely something that you want to look into. Therefore, you can't use any of the good 5-star weapons that we have in the game right now, right? Some of the weapons has really good crit ratio increase, and Brant also would love that as well, which is why building him is absolutely expensive, because your echoes generally requires at least 3 stars of energy regen, crit rate and crit damage, and it has been a bit of a haul for me to build him specifically. And as you can see, his echo up until this point, I haven't actually been able to invest into him too much, which makes it so that yeah, he's a very tough character to build and very resource heavy character to invest in. Moreover, with the fact that he mainly only works in a Changli team, makes him pretty much a perfect character for you to be pulling at this point. So if you're deciding to pull for him, I really do wish you good luck. Other than that, we have our lovely Carlotta. Oh my god, I just love Carlotta as a character, right? Everything about her. Honestly speaking, guys, pull for Carlotta, man. She's just an absolutely amazing character. Not because of my bias toward her as a character, but yes, she is still one of the best DPS in the game. Absolutely nice looking attack animation. But moreover, one thing that I really like about her is her freezing mechanic, right? Her bullet has the ability to freeze your enemies and even bosses as well. Now, if you're somebody who's been playing the hologram quite a lot, first of all, the level 100 guys actually hit you like a damn truck, and secondly, they move around way too much like someone who has ADHD. So, with the fact that she has freezing mechanic bullet, not only that it will freeze your enemies in place for a couple of seconds, but also allows her to get her window of attacking or your team to attack, which is really nice about her. Carlotta has already helped me to clear a lot of the hologram bosses, but moreover, I just love her a lot as a character. Now, Carlotta investment wise, the standard pistol that we have for the 5-star is really decent on her. Obviously, again, her specific weapon is still the best for her if you really have it. Other than that, if you're looking into investing into a sequence, yeah, I personally already has one. I think it's a really nice quality of life increase because it's easier for you to get her forte up, for her to do her enhanced skill, and moreover, yeah, she has more crit rate increase. Therefore, it's easier for us to build more crit damage onto Carlotta. Other than that, her S2 is also pretty good. It allows her to deal more damage. Us, we're going to be using the final parts of her liberation quite a lot, and it's a huge part of her damaging as well, which is why her sequence investment is rather nice for those of you who really like to invest more into Carlotta. And then other than that, we have Roccia, who is in a rather an interesting situation. Now, I personally already have Roccia, but I haven't been able to build her that much because I'm focusing on other character, with a few facts that Roccia is somebody who can actually buff your Havoc character pretty nicely, and in this case, definitely that is going to be Camellia. Now, that being said, is she a must-have character to be on a Camellia team? Technically, it's a no, because Camellia actually has many other characters that she used alongside with, you know, like Sanhua, or even Cantarella, who is pretty decent on a Camellia team, which makes Roccia pooling value isn't too great at this point. However, her damaging side isn't actually too bad either. She has the ability to do pretty decent damage and very nice mechanic of doing crowd control in the game at this point. However, crowd control in Withering Wave isn't too much of a big deal. Therefore, crowd control or, you know, good AoE attacking character isn't too much of a focusing point for us at the current point. So definitely Roccia for me is still going to be a character that is lower on the pooling side and more or less going to be on the preference if you are looking into it. But obviously, she's a very cute looking character. Her personality is great and she is technically pretty fun to play. So that's going to be something you kind of want to consider. So those guys are going to be all the characters, as well as weapon discussion a bit. So hopefully the video have been able to help you out in some ways. I know that there are a lot of information and the account situation for every one of you is going to be slightly different. So obviously, if you do have any questions, guys, leave it down in the comment section and I or some lovely other Withering Wave player will help you guys out there. First anniversary is going to be a huge patch for those of you who want many characters. So again, guys, if you are looking to invest a bit into your Withering Wave account and wanting to swipe, don't forget to check out Loot Bar, as I'm sure they will have very nice deal for you guys to help you out with your poolings. If you're new to the channel, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With that, I wish you a super day and I'll catch you on my next video.